Actress and wife of Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, seems to be one of those people where opinions on her are split right down the middle. You either love her or you hate her. Fans of the royal family are typically not on her side, as they feel like she has caused a lot of drama and upset within the royal unit, especially when her and Harry made the choice to leave their royal duties behind. Others see her as a champion independent woman who stood up for herself in the face of adversity and ignorance. Whatever your opinion is though, it seems that nobody likes her new podcast. That's right, like many people in this day and age, Meghan Markle has decided to launch a podcast titled Archetypes on Spotify. With the podcast market so overly saturated, it's hard to create something that will really stand out and be interesting to listeners, and I think Meghan was banking on her fame to get people to listen. But she may have been banking on it a little too much, as critics have called her podcast just another way for her to talk about herself. So let's take a look at the podcast and what other critics and listeners have had to say. As I said, the podcast is titled Archetypes, and the main goal of it appears to be a feminist sort of effort. Markle describing the podcast as where we dissect, explore, and subvert the labels that try to hold women back. So it seems that her guests are probably going to be all influential females, and the very first person she had on her show is tennis superstar Serena Williams. Next week's episode is apparently going to feature Mariah Carey, because I guess she's already started to defrost for the Christmas season. In this episode, Meghan and Serena appeared to talk about their shared experiences, mostly specific to them being women, including embracing their ambitions from a young age, being new mothers with public careers, and Serena talking about how she has pivoted her career from tennis to other outlets like writing for Vogue. Meghan also shared more details about a situation in 2019 where she was on a trip in South Africa speaking publicly when she received news that her son Archie's bedroom had caught on fire, saying that she was in tears and shaken by the incident, as any mother would be, while other people who remember it say that Archie wasn't even in the room and it was just a heater that started smoking and they unplugged it. Despite Serena Williams being the featured guest, many listeners and critics complained that Meghan spent way too much time talking about herself, saying that Serena barely had a chance. So let's take a look at what some of the professional reviews had to say about the podcast, and then we'll see what the general public has been saying on social media. James Marriott from The Times gave it a 1-star review and called it almost entirely preposterous. He said, "The effect of all the tinkly music and vapid conversation makes you feel like you've been locked in the relaxation room of a wellness spa with an unusually self-involved yoga instructor." Celia Walden from The Telegraph is the one who called it just another way she can talk about herself, saying, "The podcast is an interview with this inspirational sporting figure in name only. If the rest of the season is anything like the premiere, what we're really going to be listening to week after week is Meghan interviewing herself." And finally, The Spectator also said it was all about her, saying, "The first guest is Serena Williams, but tennis enthusiasts who tune in might be a bit disappointed. The show is in fact all about Meghan, since it takes 11 minutes for Serena to barely get a word in edgeways. It's hard to believe that it took 28 people, including 8 executive producers, to make the episode, plus Meghan herself, who is also listed as an executive producer in the credits." Messages from casual listeners on Twitter seem to be pretty divided, with some praising it and some calling her out. Tweets said things like, "Meghan Markle's new Spotify podcast is good. First episode with Serena Williams, edited beautifully. Meghan's got a great voice and vibe, expert input." While others were saying things like, "Meghan Markle's podcast was yet another one of her boring whinge fests, where she attempts to play the victim and sell lies about the royal family again. Meghan is sponging off of Prince Harry's inheritance and status. What does she know about ambition? Nothing." So if you've listened to the podcast, what did you think of it? That's all I have for you for now. I've been your host, Woody. Join us next time for more.